We talked about not poking the bear, which I personally don't like. I know you don't like the phrase either. There are, it would be wrong if we didn't talk about, okay, well, when do you not poke the bear? I'm using that phrase because that's what people understand. But when is it that you're 100%, you're rated at 100%? When do you just shut up and go about your life and then don't touch the VA? I have a personal example of that I'll share here in a second, but let's talk about when should you not poke the bear?
That's the question.
That's the question.
Okay.
So we talked about how it's
right.
stupid.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's nothing at the end of it that would benefit your situation or your surviving spouse's situation. So if you know, like I would know, right? I would know before I make any sort of claim with the VA where I currently sit, right? I'll know my conditions. I'll know if they're static. I know that if I went to the doctor in the last 6 months, I know I have current information to where I'm protected in the mindset of, fine, throw an e-exam at me. I really don't care because my back still sucks. I still have a snow globe for an eyeball. I still have my migraines, and I have all of this stuff documented, and I can give it to you. So if I know that I'm good to go with everything I'm at, and let's say that a new condition pops up, for example, that is going to warrant a clothing allowance that I never had before.
Yeah, good example.
Well, maybe I'm going to file that, right? Or maybe maybe my medication has now caused ED, right? Well, maybe I'm going to file for that, even if I'm 100% P&T, right? Because now I'm going to slide over onto the special monthly compensation level a little bit. Maybe my conditions have gotten worse and I now require aid and attendance. I'm going to file for that. Maybe I need adaptive housing or an adaptive car. I'm going to file for those. Maybe I'm forward thinking, and now that I got this presumptive cancer, even though I'm already 100% permanent and total, and it's not going to change my payments whatsoever, it's terminal. I'm going to die from this cancer. I'm probably going to file for it if I have the wherewithal. If I can still function, I'm probably just going to file for it just because I'm that way. So that way it's just cleared up with the VA. They've now documented that I have this service-connected presumptive cancer. So that way when I pass, my surviving spouse will just have one less hurdle when they're filing for DIC. Is that a requirement? No, but it does make it a little bit easier for your surviving spouse. Some people don't care. Whatever. It's on you. So if it's none of those types of things, and you're just like, I'm filing for something that maybe I have that makes no difference at all in any aspect of my life, my family's life, my survivors' lives, then why bother? Why go through the process? Oh, I forgot to file for my sprained ankle that I got a little bit of a limited range of motion, right? Maybe I'll get a 10 or a 20, but I'm already 100% permanent in total. And I'm already, I got aid in attendance, and I got this and I got that, and I already got all these other things. Why bother with your ankle at that point? Would be kind of my thought. But those other things are valid reasons why somebody would go, oh, but what they're told is, look, you're already 100% permanent in total. Just shh, don't do anything. And it's actually kind of the opposite. The VA's already conceded that you are effed up.
Yeah.
They've already conceded that you are static in nature on all of those conditions, that you're not likely going to get better. That's probably the safest time, actually, to file. I'm just saying. So back over to you, Clay.
Yeah. So I agree with everything you said, right? I'll give a personal example. So if you're curious, I'm 100% P&T. If you've watched the channel before, you could have put 2 and 2 together. Okay. We talk about VA and DEA and all kinds of stuff. I have a denial. There are two. I'm a very petty person sometimes. There are 2 things that I've been denied that just get under my skin. One's IBS and the other's TBI. Okay, I'm not talking about TBI. We'll talk about IBS. So I'm 100% P&T. Could I fight IBS denial? Because I was denied in 2019 or 2020 before the PACT Act. Okay, my IBS, which is an undiagnosed illness, is going to be presumptive under the PACT Act because it's an MUCMI. Could I file for it? I absolutely could. I would say my IBS personally is definitely lower tier, maybe 10%. And so there really is no benefit for me to file IBS. And that's the time that, hey, you don't want to poke the bear. That's perfectly okay. But I think the way you had put it, Jason, is absolutely perfect. That the reason veterans should poke the bear is when there is a benefit on the table. Now, 100% P&Ters most likely are going to be fine. I think poking the bear really, really falls into your 60, 70, 80, 90% ratings. And then obviously your IU ratings, right? I think Jeremy is a prime. Jeremy is going to be the poster child. Anytime I talk about poking the bear, I'm going to talk about Jeremy. But really, it's also your 60, 70, 80, 90%. I was told not to poke the bear when I was at 70 or 80%, whatever my first rating was. My VSO straight up looked me in the eyes and said, hey, you're at 70. You should be happy with that. And in my head, I'm like, hey, you're right. I should be happy. Okay. And if I took that advice at face value and ran with it, I definitely wouldn't have created the YouTube channel. And I would still be at 70 or 80%, whatever that rating was. And it's just not,
Right.
you know, poking the bear. And I'm just going to say this, Jason, when someone, let's say you're at 90% and you don't want to poke the bear for whatever reason, I'm not accusing anyone, but it does smell a little fishy, right? It's like, well,
Oh, when you're scared to, right?
yeah, like you're either properly rated at 90% or you're not, right? You either fudged the cheese a little bit to get there or you didn't. And whenever you're scared to poke the bear, I'm not saying it always is the case, but it's definitely, it raises a question in my book where I'm like, well, why not?
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
which rating are you afraid of and what's your evidence for that?
Right.
Because if the evidence is sketchy, one,
Right.
go get the evidence,
Right.
right, and then be properly rated. Okay, back to you.
You know what? I agree. And in some cases, this isn't even because of the veteran. Some cases, it's like, holy, they rated me at that. Whoa, I didn't think I was going to be that high.
Mm-hmm.
It happened to me. I had a great CNP examiner, and I ended up getting a higher rating than what I thought I would have gotten. Now, granted, I don't even need that rating to be at 100%, but still, it ended up being higher than what I had imagined it was going to be. It was the next tier up, whatever. So in some cases, the VA may rate you higher than what you maybe thought it was going to, and then that could cause some stress for you if you were to look to. So just to kind of play the other side of that doom and gloom that you like to throw out. So, but I'm just going to throw out there the fast version of my story, and don't always take. I'm going to preface it with this. Don't always take the VA's answer as the final truth. Okay. It's not. And I wish that I would have repoked the bear earlier, because my first claim coming out of the Marine Corps, this is funny to me. Marine Corps, 81 millimeter mortars, running around, 20 something mile forced march, you got your carrying your whatever it is, base plate, bipod, barrel, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. They all suck.
Yeah.
And so my back, I ended up jacking up my back, go figure. And it was really bad for a minute, for like a month. And then they ended up sending me to what they called back school, which was called it was physical therapy, but they called it back school. So I went to this back, lift together, all the things that you can, hey, come over here and help me lift this. No, you just go do it. Right. Anyway, so I went to this physical therapy thing. I got prescribed muscle relaxers, got prescribed my pain pills, so Percocet and Flexerol and all that good stuff.
Nice.
Right.
Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and all this is during service. Right. I mean, it's all there. I get out. I don't even remember how I knew to file. Somehow, some way, I filed a claim. Don't even know how it really happened. It's all kind of a blur. And I remember I had to drive to the VA for a CMP exam. I didn't know that's what it was, but I had to go to the VA, and it was like an hour and a half drive to get to this place. And so I went there and do my thing, and then I leave, and then I get a letter in the mail a couple months later, and all this was within 1 year of getting out, right? So filed the claim and got decided probably within like 8 months, and it said not service connected, and I was like, huh. I didn't really know what was on the stake. I didn't know there was compensation that was going to be tied to this. I thought it was just to go get medical care at the VA, is what I thought it was. I had no clue. Nobody had any sort of real conversation, and I don't remember how the hell I even filed for anything. But I was denied with that. I'm like, well, that's weird, because how is that not service connected? I joined when I was 19. I was fine, never had any back issues, and now all of a sudden I'm bracing my knees against the bathroom sink as I'm brushing my teeth so I don't fall over. And I went to physical therapy, and I had all these prescriptions, and it's all documented, but you're going to deny me. Okay. Well, like most of us, threw my arms in the air and said, well, screw the VA, and moved on and went along my life. And it wasn't until 15 years later, 12 years later, I joined the Army National Guard. Big break in service. So 12 years later, I joined the Army Guard. Then 3 years after that, we're doing some mortar fire. I don't remember if it was 120s or 81s now, because there they do both. So we had 81s and 120s, which I'd never seen a 120 before. Those suck.
You're speaking my language right now. Okay.
Good. Something flew in my eye. Something flew in my eye and jacked up my eye. And I know it sounds cliche, Clay. Wow, your eye looks like shit. Take some Motrin, get some rest. We'll see how it looks tomorrow. Okay. Next day, it's like cottage cheese. Like my eyeball is all bumpy. And it looked like I was staring through like swampy, murky swamp water with this eye. My other eye, clear as day, blue skies. Like something's not right. Then I'm going through a physical health assessment after we're done with all of that. So a couple more days of this jacked up eye thing. And that's where the whoever it was, right? Some 04, 05 was like, what's up with your eye? Told him, where's your first sergeant? And then that whole thing happened from there. Next thing you know, I'm at the ophthalmologist, and I'm taking steroid drops, trying to calm it down. Steroid drops weren't enough. They had to give me a shot. They lift up your eyelid.
Don't do that in the camera. Oh my goodness.
And they stick it right in your eyeball, right above your eyeball. And they give you a shot of steroids. Anyway, so now my eye's all jacked up on the inside, and it's like a snow globe with like little things floating all around. And I get these like flare-ups, kind of like a cold sore, but like in my eyeball, and it gets all tweaked out. It's pretty fun, Clay. Just try it out. Anyway, so all that to say is that it took me that long, right? Initial denial, 12 years later, joined the Guard, 3 more years, I jack up my eye, and I go, oh, I got to file a claim with the VA. So 15 years, and it was only because my eye. If nothing happened to me in the Guard, I never would have filed anything ever again. But that opened up the door, cracked the door open for me, and then I started to look at all the other things and, dug through records and all that stuff and got squared away. But, I had to poke the bear several times. I've said that before. I think I filed probably 7-ish claims, appealed 3 of them. One was taken care of basically from like a higher level review. And then the other got awarded through the Board of Veterans Appeals. And then the other one was denied. So, it's a stressful, long process. It's not always easy. For some folks, it is. For some folks, Clay, bam, they're in, they're out, they're done. Some people just file a few claims. Some people file a lot. I think the biggest claim that I ever saw filed, Clay, was a retired Navy captain, which is a lot different than a captain anywhere else.
Yeah.
So he's full bird, right?
06,
yeah.
So,
06. Yeah. So full bird, fighter pilot, like his whole time pretty much.
Top Gun
and he's just hardcore dude. I mean, he is Navy fighter pilot in your mind. That's him. And he ended up filing for like 80 something claim. Like, here's everything that's wrong with me. and it was a lot of things. But the bottom line is file for what you have, for the conditions you have, right? Be properly rated, file for the conditions you have. The biggest piece of advice that I would have, Clay, and then I'll kick it back to you, is if you can take the time, put in an intent to file, take the time to do a self-assessment inside and out, work with all of your service treatment records, dig up whatever you can find for evidence, then the things that you don't have evidence because you just didn't go get seen for it. You get your buddy statement, your own statement from family members, spouses, whatever, get your nexus letter, do all of that type of stuff, get your DBQs, gather it all together and file for everything that you have. In one shot, you won't have to think about poking the bear typically, because you've already put it all out there. It's not like, oh, and then I need to file for this, and oh, I forgot to file for tinnitus, or I focused on high value claims, so I left out these other 3 that have these secondaries that I could have filed over here, but instead I just left them off, right? The more you can just get done up front, the better off you're going to be. Back to you.
Yeah.